Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
In recent days, the People's Liberation Army of China has shown considerable irritation at some actions by US officials and their statements. That includes Defense Secretary Mark Esper's speech at Hawaii, his article in a prominent daily, and of course the Pentagon's own annual report to Congress on China. That, of course, makes the startling statement that the China now has the largest navy in the world. It also details China's prowess in rocket forces, in its army, and so on, all of which is of considerable interest to India, particularly now, as we face Chinese forces on the border. Now, when you disaggregate this report, what it shows is that while China does have the largest number of ships in terms of sheer numbers, the US Navy is by far the superior in terms of its aircraft carriers, which are nuclear powered, its nuclear powered submarines, which are far ahead of China in technological terms, that the US has far more bases across the world than China, that the US has about 40 bases at home from where it operates to China's 3. China has one base abroad, which is in Djibouti. Of course, it's planning much more. It's planning to have more bases in about half a dozen countries, which is yet in the future. The report to Congress also details very rightly that China has a considerable shipbuilding prowess, which is something which is far ahead of the US in that capacity. But the fact remains, again, when you look at these things, is that very few countries actually buy Chinese ships. The ones that do, for example, is prominently, of course, Pakistan, then there's Bangladesh, less so there is Malaysia and Nigeria, and countries whose navies are not exactly among the best in the world. The PLA is the largest army, as the report points out, but has never fought a war since 1979. The PLA's rocket forces, definitely something which we should take cognizance of and which we should guard against, because that is an area where their expertise is considerable. But in terms of nuclear warheads, they're still in the low 200s to somewhere around 150 of India. So disaggregating this report, while the numbers are high and that the Chinese capacities is something that one does need to take care of in the future and is considerable, there is a little bit of, it seems a little overdone in terms of what its actual capacities are on the ground. Now, when you think of the future as well as to how China is going to get there to where what the report says it's going to have 5 or 6 or 10 years down the line, at present, China has a very severe food crisis. It has about 80 million unemployed. It has its GDP to debt ratio is about 273%, risen 26 points. It has huge problems at home which are not being recognized by the world over. In fact, it's something which is very, very well hidden within China itself. The banks are not lending. Some of major Chinese banks are in trouble because of this huge debts that they have taken. Corporate debt is very high. Now, the point remains that while we need to be absolutely aware of China as a major threat to India and indeed to the world, and someone who is aspiring to be out there as a hegemonic power, I think it's time we took the Chinese threat into an actual framework and understood it and disaggregated it as in terms of its actual capabilities. Because what happens otherwise is that the notions of Chinese power, which is heavily pushed by Beijing itself, sometimes spills over into diplomacy. In other words, China uses its military reputation, its latent power, and these picturizations of an immense and awesome military to push its diplomatic agenda. Therefore, it's worthwhile for us as analysts and academics to disaggregate this threat and present it in a whole more credible way where we can then take it on as India is doing now. We are taking on the threat, dealing with it, acknowledging that this is a huge power, but nonetheless not succumbing to this lure of China as the ultimate threat.